A little bit. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for joining us tonight on episode 38, our season 5 finale, here on the standoff with Brad and Richie on New Zealand Sport Radio. That means tonight we are signing off for the year that was 2024. Evening, Richie. League's officially out of the way for the year, with Australia taking double honours as Pacific Cup champions.
Yep.
We also saw the Samoan women get promoted for the 2025 Pacific campaign, and the Kiwis retain their spot. How are you, and how was your weekend?
I'm good, thanks, mate. Weekend was good. Enjoyed the footy. Was busy, doing bits and pieces. I'm going away to Niue. I'm going to Niue this weekend, so just been busy packing and doing things around the house before I go. How are you?
Yeah, good. As you know, I went down the line for my grandmother's funeral. So I was down in Dunedin over the weekend, managed to send her off in a nice way, and then also watch every single game of league on the Sunday. So I made sure that was still a possibility. Very, very happy that the season's over. It's been very long. Looking forward to talking about the games tonight and everything else we're going to be doing. See, Simon's here already. Saying good evening, everybody. The only place the world left for rugby league will be the French Rugby League Club. And it's going to be an interesting break for February to March. And then Nicholas said, have you had a beard trim, Brad? Yeah. I had to give it a bit of a snippy snip before the funeral that was on the weekend. But I couldn't get rid of it all. Paul is also away tonight. He had a scheduled conflict, so you have to deal with me trying to manage all the comments and stuff. So we'll see how we go. But while we're here live on Wednesdays at 8 p.m, you can also catch our show at your convenience on iHeartRadio and Spotify. Just remember to search for New Zealand Sport Radio. As always, we're going to cover everything you need to know in the week that was rugby league, including our top stories of the week, a review of the final week of the internationals. We'll then stop and answer some questions from you guys, as well as questions we've prepared for each other. And then I thought, since we've got no games to preview, we would do what we did last year, which was end the show with our highlights from season 5 and the 2024 league season. Thought that'd be an interesting one. It'll probably be pretty quick because it has been the past few weeks. But remember to send us comments and questions throughout the show. And before we jump into it, I see Simon said he's very concerned about Paul's dedication to the show. Yeah, he pays to keep the lights on, though, so I guess he can be part-time if he wants. We'll move into it, mate. There is quite a lot of news. The first one, it came and gone really quickly, but there was talk and reports that the NRL were planning on introducing a new kick rule in 2025. That we discussed quite a bit with Rue and Hammer after the news broke. The rule apparently was going to be if a kickoff travels more than 20 meters, the team receiving the ball would get a 7-tackle set. Had an extremely negative reaction from everyone involved. And reports have now come out to say NRL has ruled out any major changes to the kickoff to 2025.
Good.
They haven't ruled it out completely, obviously, but yeah, stop playing with your mic, mate. What's your thoughts on it? If I know you've already told me, but to everyone here, your thoughts on this idea. It's apparently to reduce head injuries, and I think I saw one reporter say of all the failed HIAs this year, there were like 3 or 4 of them were from a kickoff.
Yeah. I've got an idea to reduce head injuries, make it touch footy, because that's where you might as well go. If you know, where does it stop if you take away the kickoff, or introduce a stupid rule like a 7-tackle set if it goes a certain distance. Just stop tinkering. They've introduced all these new rules they try and introduce every year. They're getting more and more stupid, like the disruptor and the they're not getting penalised for
short kickoffs.
For a short dropout. Yeah. Stop tinkering. The game's in a good place. You're just making it worse with every new rule you add.
Yeah. got to stop pulling at the string and wrecking the whole blanket. So
Yeah.
thankfully, it seems like cooler heads have prevailed right now. No doubt we'll probably be talking about this at some point next year when they decide, no, actually, we want to bring it in. But we'll leave it there for now. The one that I did forget to put on when I gave you the show notes, but I'll let you know in advance, was while I was down in Dunedin, there was a big announcement about the Southern Orcas,
Yes.
one of the South Island bids. So they have launched a new bid to join the NRL and have claimed that they have already got an agreement with the current NRL coach to come and coach the team, and they believe they can win a premiership in their first year. So Graham Lowe is the chairman. He made the announcement last week with a 360 million New Zealand $1 bid. The bid also includes a $66.5 million football club and a $99.8 million Centre of Excellence. They've also got a $118 million hotel, leagues club, and entertainment precinct funded by public and private investors that has been added to the bid that was initially rejected by the NRL. So they're throwing a lot at it. It's a lot of money. Still not sure. There's some people involved in the bid that have had fairly checkered past when it comes to running clubs. Andrew Chalmers being one. But I still would like to see a New Zealand team. I just don't. I feel like you're setting yourself up to fail by already coming out saying you're going to win it the first year you're in.
Yep. Who said that? Was it Graham
That
Lowe?
was
Because
Graham Lowe said that, which Jacko's
Yeah.
already commented in here saying Lowe is a great talker, and he is.
he is.
But yeah,
I mean, bits of it I like. I like the Orcas branding a lot more than the Kias. I think it looks and sounds cooler. It just, like you say, don't go off too early with a lot of claims. I mean, you haven't even put a squad together, and I wonder who this coach is they're talking about. Because
well, it was interesting that he said it was a current NRL coach. It wasn't like a coach with NRL experience. It's a current one. I tried to look and see who is close to being off contract. But I couldn't see anyone that sprung out to mind.
it's probably an assistant coach. It'll be Nathan Brown or Stephen Kearney.
Simon said he likes the concept of the Southern Orcas, but the problem is Peter V'landys is fanatical about getting taxpayers' money or ratepayers' money. Sounds like he's not keen on private investment. That seems to be the gist of what he's been kind of saying between the lines. And he also, Simon also agreed Andrew Chalmers is not a popular man in Bradford Bulls area. No, he's not. And then Nicholas said, you know what, Auckland FC are going like an absolute train. Maybe the Orcas can have a similar impact. Could be, potentially. You just don't know.
Do me a favour though, and never mention Auckland FC on here. They beat my Wellington Phoenix, so
Mate, they took your W. You're Ellington now.
They can bugger off.
So we'll have to wait and see. I know V'landys has still got a massive hard-on for Papua New Guinea and Perth. So those are still his preferred options. But yeah, time will tell. Hopefully we get a lot more news to talk about whatever's going to happen when we start the season up again next year. Or if there is a big announcement, I'm sure we'll have to jump on and do a special episode on it if they actually officially announce a team.
Yeah.
And
definitely.
Simon said, "Go Yellow Fever, Richie."
Absolutely.
You're all sick. But it's cool. I just don't like seeing another team play in my stadium, but that's me. They seem to be having a good time. I haven't watched, so I don't know. So we'll move on, mate, before I get us in trouble with any soccer fans.
Yeah.
The Dragons are rumored to be looking at Brodie Croft as their replacement for Ben Hunt. He has a clause in the Super League contract that he can exit early for the NRL. It's a massive step down, in my opinion, which makes me even more confident in my wooden spoon prediction for 2025. But they need to get someone.
They do need to get someone. I just wonder whether they need another Ben Hunt or whether someone solid will do the job, because they seem to have upgraded everywhere else in their backline.
They have.
They lost Lomax, obviously, but they've added in a Val Holmes and a Gutherson, who's a lot more solid at fullback than Tyrell Sloan, and he's a good player for Tyrell Sloan to learn off as well.
Yeah, I think those two coming in is enough to make sure they don't get a wooden spoon. Taking all my biasness off it. And Jacko said Volandis wants big government money to back new clubs. It ain't going to happen anytime soon. Yeah, it's going to be a long time away, but we'll see what happens. And speaking of Hunt, no official news on the signing, but it appears that the Dolphins are in the driver's seat in regards to money on the table. But there has been a lot of talk that the Broncos are planning on going big to bring him back to the club, especially with the news we'll talk about soon about Ezra Mam. It looks like they're probably going to need a half to come in and help for at least a big chunk of next year. But where do you see him being a Dolphin, or will he take less money and go to the Broncos?
Aren't the Roosters meant to be chasing him?
Roosters are always meant to be chasing somebody, mate.
They're another one. They've lost a lot of people.
Yeah. They got Sam Walker, but they could do a Sam Walker, Ben Hunt halves.
Sam Walker's going to be gone for like half the year next year.
True. But time will tell. And yeah, Jacko's asking Chucky's chasing Hunt. I did see it somewhere. I'll go with Richard's noise on it though. But yeah, there's a few teams that are interested. It's all going to be about money and what he's willing to drop down for to go, and what the NRL base his salary at, because I think they were saying that it was going to be like a eight to 900,000 contract that he was worth, and apparently the Broncos have like 500. So you would think the NRL wouldn't allow that, so they would have to kick someone out to make the money up. But we'll see. As always, it'll be announced tomorrow, mate. So we'll move on. AJ Brimson update. The NRL Integrity Unit has found no evidence that Brimson was betting on rugby league games, and it looks like he's going to be cleared without punishment. Short, sharp, and sweet, unless you've got something to add.
Nah, put that to bed.
More of an interesting one here. The Papua New Guinea government has apparently approved a tax exemption for overseas NRL players who sign with their team in the future to come and live in Papua New Guinea. The exemption will also include all staff and officials. So if we want to get into coaching, mate, we go get some tax-free money, mate. Go to Papua New Guinea, stay in a compound.
I'm good. I think I'll keep paying tax here, thanks.
I think I can still do the show from there, can't I? They have internet, right?
Yeah.
It's I guess you got to do something to try to get players to leave Australia or New Zealand or the UK to go and stay in Papua New Guinea of all places. We'll see if that actually helps them get any big names across. I still think you're going to be looking at basically Papua New Guineans. Jack said no tax but possible death. Still, they love their footy, but it's still a dangerous place to live. And Simon said Papua New Guinea, that's the only way to get to lure people. Basically, the Florida Panthers and the NHL basically do that to lure players to play for their team because they have no state income tax in Florida. Yeah. You got to do something right if you're going to get people over. We'll see. We'll see what happens. They got to get the official green light to actually have a team first. But yeah, we'll see. And next bit, mate, Ezra Mam. There was an update today. He's reportedly been issued a notice to appear in court by the police after his secondary drug test came back positive. He is set for court on the 16th of December. So we'll see what happens in regards to official charges and punishments from the police, and then on from that, what the NRL will decide to do We'll see. Yeah, and Jacko said Mam is in the shit. Yeah, I think there's been a lot of people looking at it. The fact that there was a young child hurt and stuff. I think he might be in a situation where a slap on the wrist that professional athletes get may not be on the table. We'll see. I don't, as I've said before on the show, I don't know how the law works in Oz. I think if you or I did this in New Zealand, I would expect we'd be getting free board and rent for a little while in one of the big houses. But yeah, we'll see. We'll have more updates. The way it works though, he goes to court, it'll probably get pushed out. We probably won't get an answer until next year. So,
but he has to be stood down until such time,
well,
right?
Apparently, on one of the websites I looked at today, I think it might have been 9. They said that the NRL stand down policy doesn't apply in this situation.
Why
So
not? Because he's a Bronco.
Yeah, I don't understand. But I say if it is delayed and the season's already happening before any charges are placed, I would assume the NRL will hand out a ban to him. We'll see. He does play for the Broncos, so you never know. So we'll move on, mate. There has been recent rumors about State of Origin 2025 and where it's going to be. The leak that came out was Game 1 at Suncorp, Game 2 in Perth, and then Game 3 in Sydney. You happy with that? Do you think it'll be it's going to be a bit lackluster, that Game 3 in Sydney, when the game series is already done? But
yeah, you're right. I mean, yeah, it'll be lackluster for Queensland.
Mate, you had Madge help you once. He even jumped ship. He knew it was a one and doneer. So
okay.
Yeah, we'll see. It is Perth's turn, so makes sense. So we'll move on. Josh Adokar, mate. The Eels have been rumoured to have been speaking with the Storm and Bulldogs coaching staff as they try to make a decision on if they should offer him a contract or not. It's all like character witnesses, which is a bit funny after why he got sacked. But yeah, we'll see. It sounds like it's them and the Dragons that are still interested. But the Dragons have made some big signings. I don't know if they'll go for him.
They might be keeping some cap for a half. That's what they need, right?
Yeah, I'd rather be spending the money. I would sign Josh Adokar for a half if I was the Dragons. But yeah, time will tell. No doubt Eels will sign him tomorrow as well.
The Eels sound like a good fit. Yeah, they already need to replace the winger, and Mike Acevo's going. So
yeah. And Terrell May, we talked about him last week. He's been told he can piss off from the Roosters. The Dragons and Bulldogs have met with him, as we already discussed, I think, last week. I said that they had talked to him, and he is going to sit down with the Tigers this week. So we'll see where he wants to go. I still don't think he's a good fit for the Bulldogs after they just sacked Josh Adokar for being naughty off the field. You can't really go and spend that money on Terrell May, who is just as problematic. But who are we to tell Gould what to do? But if they sign him, perhaps they'll leave Leo Thompson alone. So, and Jacko said Tigers very keen on May. It would, in hindsight, it would look like a masterstroke if they could get May after they lost Stefano.
Yeah,
losing Stefano and getting Terrell May is actually not a bad thing if you can keep May on the straight and narrow.
They're keen on him for very good reason.
He's talented,
and they need middles. They definitely need middles badly.
Yeah. Next bit of news was Christian Wolf. He said that he's unsure if he'll continue to be the head coach of Tonga next year, as he still needs time to figure out if he can balance the Dolphins head coach role and the Tongan role at the same time. I really hope he sticks with Tonga as well. I understand if he does put it aside due to the intensity that is being the NRL head coach. But yeah, I think what he's been doing with Tonga, as we got to see in the weekend, is very promising, and I'd be worried if him leaving and a new coach coming in derails what Tonga have been building.
Unless we had one coach putting his hand up for the Kiwis. Who's to say Wayne Bennett wouldn't want? That would be good.
That would piss me off if Wayne Bennett took it and then the Tongans become a powerhouse and
that would piss me off too.
There, we're sitting there with Stacey going, what did we do wrong? But yeah, fingers crossed for Tonga that Wolf sticks around. Next bit of news, since we've been kicking the boot in the Broncos already, mate. The Seagulls have officially requested that the NRL send the Broncos to their home venue in 2025, as they believe they'd sell the game out. I couldn't remember the stat, but they say it's been years since the Broncos have played Manly and Manly. Admittedly, they've had a few magic rounds against each other, but that's always the away game for the Broncos, so they don't have to travel to Manly if they play them again. But what do you think? I think their NRL should do it. I don't know if they will.
Yeah, they should. Whether or not, that's what happens. But yeah, you understand it, right?
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
This is how we used to get grumpy that the Storm refused to play an Anzac game.
Yeah,
in New Zealand, but they still haven't. So I get where Manly's coming from. And it would be a big earner for them, a high-profile team like Brisbane coming. So it would be one of their ones. Nicholas said he knows why the NRL do it, but he does really miss when all the State of Origin matches were held in New South Wales or Queensland. Yeah, I miss that too, but the losing team, if the losing team has one home game and two away, they always bitch and complain. So this kind of takes it out there if you've got a neutral. So like you said, I know why they do it, but yeah, it's always good seeing it in those regions that really love and support it. And Jacko said he's pissed off already with the snubbing of Bennett.
Yep.
Don't get me started. I spent about an hour telling my grandfather in Dunedin what the idiots at the Kiwis Rugby League had done. And then Simon said the Brisbane Broncos are one of the privileged clubs in the NRL. Yep. Which I agree with. And Nicholas said stick with Tonga, keep the momentum going. 100%. He's on. If he sticks around, I think they are a legitimate shot of taking out Pacific Championship next year. Especially, Kangaroos aren't in it. I don't want to make it sound like just because Kangaroos are gone, other teams will win it because they've only won. But it's your best chance to get one is if you've only got to worry about the Kiwis. No disrespect to Samoa, but they know they can beat New Zealand, and they could do it again. And Simon says, am I to understand the Kiwis have an unwritten rule that the coach has to be a New Zealander? That seems to be what they want to do. There's no official or unwritten rule as such, but that is kind of what they want. They kind of cheated when Stephen Kearney was the coach and Wayne Bennett was his assistant. But I think they kind of threw that away when they had Madge. And if Madge didn't jump ship, he would still be the coach now. So I think get the best coach available. It just seems to make sense.
It's logical, right? Logical.
Yeah.
Get the best coach.
Yeah. And Jacko said he doesn't care about Tonga. They're the enemy. Kiwis forever. Yeah. So we'll move on, mate. Leo Thompson. I've been
your boy.
I've been saying prayers every night that he's going to put a Warriors jersey on. He has said that he would like to have his NRL future sorted before the 2025 season starts. Yep. And has also admitted that the Knights signing his brother will not stop him making the best decision for his own career. So that could be.
He's coming home to NZ. Yeah, he's coming home.
Yeah. We'll see. I'm hoping that James and Chance and Sean and Kiwis camp and Aaron's there too. They were all like whispering in his ear. I'm sure Leo was roommates with James again, like he was last year. just sitting there looking at all the stuff, going, mate, this is a pretty special time to come to this club. You should come. So we'll see. And Jago said we signed Tohu for another year. Mistake, as we could have used that money to get Leo. I think we've still got money. I think we've still got money to get Leo. If they're wanting him, it's all just from me. I've heard no rumors that the Warriors are even interested in Leo.
I'm happy to see Tohu go another year too. If he lasts,
I expected Tohu to be one and done this year, but I think the injuries, he probably wants another year. But yeah, I've been saying Leo since the Pacific Championship last year. I've been harping all year that I want Leo at the Warriors. Warriors have never come out and feigned any interest, but they are sneaky at times with that. So it's just a fan here hoping that one of my favorite props comes here after we lost my favorite prop. So we'll move on, mate. West Tigers. Yep. They handed out a breach notice to 5 players this week after they failed to meet strict fitness guidelines. So Tigers hitting the ground running. Yeah, they're hitting the ground running, mate. It's not a good look. I'm not going to throw stones as a player that never arrived to preseason in any sort of condition. I generally got match fit for the final month of the season. So I can't talk. But it's not a good look for your professional outfit when your young guys that you are wanting to be fit and ready to go are coming back. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. It doesn't make it look good, does it?
No.
But we're not the Australian media, so we can't kick the boot into the Tigers too much. But hopefully they turn things around. And we're going to answer this question now because Paul's not here to dictate. Nicholas said, speaking of Madge here and now, will he be a success at Brisbane? We did mention this a few weeks ago. I said he'd be sacked after 2 seasons, and Richard was more confident. Are you still sticking with that?
Yeah, I think he'll do just fine. He'll have to put up with the pressures of a lot of external noise that comes with coaching that club and fan pressure. I don't know if he'll hit the ground running and be a success straight away, but once he makes things start to click, he'll do just fine. The roster there is too talented to go poorly. I feel like maybe Kevy Walters maybe lost the dressing room a little bit late last year.
Yeah, I'm going with it that the pretty boy prima donna Broncos players won't handle how Madge is with this harshness that we've seen in all those documentaries about Tigers and stuff. And I can just see the likes of Reece Walsh and Mam, or if Mam's even allowed to play, maybe not responding the way that he would want. That's all speculation on my part. He could come out and knock it out of the park. He did wonders with the Kiwis. He did great with New South Wales. So he should, in theory, on paper, do great. But I don't know. I just think we have trouble. And Jacko said, with our history of unfit players turning up at preseason, maybe we best leave the Tigers alone. 100%. I'm not throwing stones, as I said. But yeah, we'll move on to signings, mate. We did have a couple. So the big one, Clint Gutherson has officially signed a 3-year deal with the Dragons after being released from the Eels last Thursday. So again, straight after our show, mate. It's a good signing. I think it's a terrible way for Gutho to leave the Eels after everything he gave, but it's a business, right? I think I said a few weeks ago, ideally the players are just cattle that you move when you need.
Yep, that's right.
But yeah, big addition to the Dragons. We'll see what happens with him there. It's not the best club to go to, but he has been an Eel, so. But yeah, it did look funny. There was a picture of him in a polo, a Dragons polo, and it looked weird. But yeah, hopefully it goes well for him. Any thoughts on King Gutho moving?
It's a good signing. now it just feels like they're a couple pieces of the puzzle away from maybe taking that next step. They were knocking on the door this year.
Yep.
I think the squad as it is now, they might be knocking on the door again, but sign a quality half, and that might be the piece they need.
Yeah. Well, you think, they got Damien Cook coming in. You got Val, you got Gutho. Yeah, they are creating quite a good team. We'll see. I don't like saying that though. Might be another rough year for me if they're doing well next year, mate.
Yeah.
An interesting one. The Seagulls signed Sia Takiaho on a 1-year deal. With all the talk he was going to be a Bulldog. This came out of nowhere. I didn't expect Manly to pick him up, but he's a hell of a player. I don't know if he's still got it in him for the NRL. He's getting a bit long in the tooth. Had a few injury concerns, but he's a hell of a talent to be able to pull in. And a 1-year deal is not really a risk for Manly. So smart little play. But yeah, I'm happy. I'm happy for him and happy for Manly.
Yep, it's a good play. Over the past, since they lost AFB pretty much in Mari Tapau, they, the Sea Eagles get a couple of injuries in the middle and their depth gets exposed. So for nothing else, if he still got some of what he had, talent-wise, he'll be a good addition. Brings a lot of experience too. So
yeah, and Nicholas said Walsh might cry with all due respect. Yeah, that's what I thought. I got to be at a game when Walsh was with us when he faked his injury and then was crying like a baby to get back on the field. So even that, we'll see. We're seeing him cry a lot when he was a Warrior. But yeah, we'll see what happens there. And Amantis said risky from the Roosters, older and injuries may have crept up, and then replacing said Seagulls.
Yeah,
it is a risk, but 1 year, it's not like you're signing into a 3-year deal and then a couple of months in you go, this was a bad idea. 1 year isn't that bad of a loss, and if it's a masterstroke, you can probably get him for longer. Or if it doesn't go well, you can just go, oh well, bad choice. Let's move on. Interesting one. I got tricked by Rob when he talked to us earlier today, saying that Setu 2 had been released from the Warriors to join the Tigers. It was true, but it's the Brisbane Tigers in the Queensland Cup, not the West Tigers, which I thought. But I like Setu 2. I think he is a talented player, but as I said to you and Ruin Hammer, we'll talk about it later when you ask your question to me about where I would have players for the Warriors in 2025, but I don't see Setu 2 making the 17 of first grade anytime soon, despite how talented he is. So it would make sense that he would try to go somewhere else and get an angle. I think the Brisbane Tigers linked with Melbourne. I'm not sure. I know they're linked with someone, but I should have researched.
Not sure.
But it's an opportunity for him to get more regular football and more eyes on him to potentially get up into NRL level. But I wish him well. Not enough money out of his contract to get Leo Thompson. And yeah, Amantis said 2 is destined for a good Super League career. That's not a dig at him. We're just too stacked. Yeah, he would crush it. He'd be like Lola here when he went over there. And Nicholas has asked a good question. We'll hold that for later. But yeah, and then we got 2 extensions. Another signing. The Bulldogs announced Nari Tuala on a 2-year deal. Depth, I guess. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
And then the Sharks extended Bryden Nakora until the end of 2027, which I think is a good move from them.
It is.
It's talented. Injuries, mate. The first one, Cam Murray has had his surgery on his wrist, but Wayne Bennett actually came out and said he expects him to miss 5 or 6 months. So he probably is going to miss a little bit of the beginning of the season next year, which is a big loss for the Rabbits. And then Panther Paul Alamotti dislocated his elbow in the Pacific Cup final. It looked gnarly, mate. Reports suggest though that he's not going to be at risk of missing the beginning of next season. So hopefully
And
he recovers well. But
those wily kangaroos spotted it straight away and ran that edge and scored.
they're clever, mate. As
don't
much
miss
as
a
I
beat.
don't like them. No.
Yeah.
And then naughty boys, we didn't really have any naughty boys. There was a hell of a sin bin from the Papua New Guinea Samoa game where a Papua New Guinean woman drove a poor Samoan deep into the ground. But yeah, nothing in terms of making any suspensions that will affect next season. So we'll jump into the women's games, mate.
Yeah.
Samoa defeated Papua New Guinea 34-12, which meant Samoa is promoted and Papua New Guinea relegated. And then the final, the Jillaroos defeated the Kiwi Ferns 24-4. It almost looked like they were going to not concede a point.
Yeah,
for the
I was
whole
just going to
tournament.
say, they conceded a try.
Which I did feel a bit embarrassed sitting there with my league-hating family celebrating the fact that we managed to score a try after just stop that record. Really made me proud to be a Kiwi there. But Australia's just too good. And Samoa, I think Samoa is a better fit for the top. I think Samoa could actually do reasonably well against the Kiwis in Australia. They've got more stars they can get, if you get my drift. But I like their play. But yeah, Australia is just too good. Family was sick of hearing a certain player's name every 5 seconds. Watching it with me, but she played well. And yeah, they're just too dangerous, left, right, and center, basically.
Yeah, pretty much.
And Simon, I knew he'd come in clutch for us. He said Brisbane Tigers were affiliated to Melbourne, but that's no longer. But it sounds like they're trying to become an NRL team in their own right. That is right. We did talk about them. Yeah, Jacko said the Samoan girls' performance showed Soward can coach. They really seem to know what they were doing. Yeah, Jamie Soward's done really well with them. He's been pretty good as a women's coach. Even in the NRLW. But yeah, congrats to Australia getting revenge after losing this final last year. Anything else you want to add before I go off for another half hour about Millie?
No, I'm happy.
Right. We'll move on into the men's games then, mate. We'll do it in the order they were played. So Kangaroos defeating Tonga 20-14. I got the answer we talked about last week. Why were they playing before the Kiwis? It was all to do with the final game, which was New Zealand Papua New Guinea, was played at 6 over there, which is news time. So there would be less people watching at that time, apparently. So that's why they played the Kangaroo Tonga game earlier. Made for a lot smaller crowd for the final game, but it is what it is. We'll talk about Kangaroos Tonga, mate. 20-14, Kangaroos win.
Yeah, 4-3 in favour of the Kangaroos. So for the Kangaroos, Hamiso Tabuai Fido, Xavier Coates, and Tommy Turbo had 2. Probably could have had a few more.
Yeah.
3 for Tonga, Sione Katoa, Haumole Olokowatu, and Eli Katoa.
Yeah. And before we go on, Jacko said Aussie commentators during the women's game were sickening. I was sick of the commentators by the end of the night, to be honest.
They always are.
Yeah. But Kangaroos, I thought they looked a bit rusty after a week off and struggled with the Tongan physicality, which resulted in them making more errors than we expect from them. However, they just got too many threats in that back line and always looked one pass away from scoring. Just too dangerous with the ball in hand, and they can scramble defend with the best of them. I think a key point, the Sione Katoa intercept.
Yep.
And he was gone, and then there was just a sea of green around him. There were like 5 or 6, not a Tongan in sight. That just showed like it may have made things more interesting if he had gone all the way and scored that, but they were acting like if he scored, he was going to win them the game. So they were throwing everybody at him. But yeah, well-deserved win for the Kangaroos before they sit out the next Pacific Cup as they head off to face England in 2025. But really would have liked to see them, have 2 Pacific Cups and 2 losses in finals. But it wasn't to be. They were just too much.
Yeah.
Your thoughts on the Kangaroos?
Too clinical for me. Like where the Kangaroos won the game was their ability to convert their chances in line breaks into points. Again, I thought Tonga matched the Kangaroo pack with their size and physicality, but Australia just had the ability to absorb pressure, make a line break, and turn it to points. Like you said, Brad, they just looked one pass away from scoring sometimes. Particularly in the first half, they did slow down in the second half a wee bit, but credit to Australia. You got to congratulate them, as painful as it is. But they were definitely the better of the three teams this season.
Yeah, no, Simon said TV broadcasting companies generally don't touch the news a lot of the time, especially with sporting events. Yeah, they don't touch the 6 o'clock news. And Mark Roberts is here and said Australia have that many threats because they buy out the best players from Tier 2. Yeah, that Origin jersey just it's the one thing I wish they could fix, but they're never going to. But yeah, your thoughts on Tonga, mate?
I thought it was a brave effort from Tonga. They had the great start, but then they conceded 3 first half tries to trail at the break. To their credit, they stayed in the fight and had the better of the second half. They had no troubles getting good field position and creating chances. They just couldn't finish as many of them in the end as Australia did. They had a lot of ball in good areas, but they'd just make a mistake or just not as clinical is how I'd sum it up.
Yeah, and Joe said Aussie just have too many big game players that know how to win. For Tonga, they actually, believe it or not, they dominated a lot of the stats in this match. Unfortunately, all the errors that they didn't make against the Kiwis last week were saved for this match. They played very similar to how they did against the Kiwis, except it was 91% completion rate last week. It was like 60 or 70% this week. That's kind of part and parcel right there. But yeah, they got one of the best forward packs in international footy. They were dominating the middle, which is no easy feat against Australia. They just couldn't convert it into points due to their poor hands, like you said. Struggled to contain some of those X-Factor Kangaroos, which saw Australia take control, but they showed fight right up until the bitter end, like you said, and full credit to their fans, which make every match an incredible spectacle. I was sitting there really hoping they would get the win. And, when Katoa scored it towards the end, I was like, mate, they could at least force this into over a golden point. But them's the breaks. I think they're definitely in the driver's seat, though, to go all the way next year, depending on what Kiwis team shows up.
So painful watching Ali Katoa play the way he has this year. Oh, what an absolute gun.
We said when they announced that the Warriors were letting him go, we said that he'd crush it with Melbourne, and it's at least the one prediction we didn't get wrong, mate. This is the player we knew he could be. If he didn't have a guy like Nathan Brown try to derail his career. Your player to stand out?
I went Turbo. Like we were saying, he had the 2 tries. Probably should have more. I just think he's been super consistent the whole series. And have they announced the Golden Boot? When is that again announced? Because I'd probably be giving it to him.
They haven't announced it. They had the short list, and I think later this week that list gets reduced before they announce the winner.
It's him, Herbie, wasn't it? And
him, Herbie. There was a few
AFB?
others in there.
Yeah.
AFB, yeah. But yeah, it's thing. And Jacko said, before I say mine, hard to argue against Tonga having the largest fan base in the international league. Mate, it's going to cook next year when you think it's going to be New Zealand, Tonga, and Samoa.
Oh, it's going to be big.
Those crowds are going to be crazy. I'm hoping they're going to play it here, at least. It'd be nice if they took games to the islands. I don't know if they will, but it would be crazy to just have them all in Australia.
Yeah, no, can't do that.
I think you would sell out every game in New Zealand if you had those 3 teams involved, just due to the amount of Kiwis, Samoans, and Tongans we have in New Zealand. So, it makes sense. But we can talk about that next year. My player was Tom Dearden.
He was
I thought
outstanding.
he was just deadly. He was cutting the line at will almost, and creating lots of headaches. So I had a feeling, much like the next game, I had a feeling who you were going to pick. So I would try to go with someone out different. And yeah, Simon said New Zealand's most logical place for all of these games. There's no interest in Australia for these games.
No.
Yeah.
It's got to be an NZ.
Yeah, if Tonga wasn't involved in that game, I don't know how many of them would have rocked up to watch Australia play in the weekend. But they got a good crowd. But yeah, you've got to get Tonga involved in everything when it comes to internationals, because their fan base is crazy in all the good ways. As I said, my grandfather doesn't watch a lot of league. He was just in awe of like the singing and everything. And even when it looked like the Tongans were on the way to a hiding, the fans were still positive, and even when the Kiwis game was on, the Tongan players were still around the edges saying everything to their fans because there were that many of them that had stuck around. But yeah, better luck next time, Tonga. But yeah, they're definitely staking the claim as a threat when it comes to international footy. Move on to the main game, Matt, the most important game of the night. Kiwis defeating Papua New Guinea 54-12.
Yep, and it was 10 tries to 2 for the Kiwis. Casey McLean on debut, he had 4. Jermaine Isako had 3. Leo Thompson, CNK, and Naufahu White. And for the Kumals, Sylvester Namo and Robert Derby.
Yeah, and Robbie's asked, does promotion relegation really matter? Most likely one of the teams in Pacific Tour England next year. Yeah, so Australia is touring next year. So I don't know. I guess it gives you an extra game to have a promotion relegation match. I don't think it's going to matter too much. It's more important, I think, for the women's game because they actually have teams that will win this. I feel like Papua New Guinea are always probably going to be the team that is in the promotion relegation match. And I don't think they're ever going to beat any of the teams from the top. Like, I don't think they'll beat Samoa. I don't think they'll beat Tonga. I don't think they'll beat us. And yeah, then Simon said we'd definitely avoid a relegation. That we did. And if I was guessing, I think the Kiwis will be playing England in 2026. I think it would make sense. That seems to be the trend.
Yeah.
And then 2027 is the World Cup. And Jacko said McLean's a real talent, big, fast, and evasive. Yeah, well, I'll talk about him a bit later, spoilers. But he was one of the players that I don't even know who this cat is when they announced the team. And definitely remember him now. But yeah, Kiwis still had a case of the dropsies in this match, but bar from a few patches, they controlled this match with ease as expected. They didn't take Papua New Guinea lightly, which was one of my concerns that potentially could have happened. And they were rewarded for it. The forwards had a tough night, but refused to back down and set the platform for Sean Johnson to get the backs involved, with both wingers getting plenty of opportunities to get the points rolling. Not the match we wanted the Kiwis to be in this night, but at least they secured their spot in the Pacific Cup next year and sent SJ into retirement with a big win. And then Robbie said New Zealand, Tonga, Samoa next year in the top comp. Yep, that is the 3 teams. But yeah, your thoughts on the Kiwis, Matt?
I thought it was a nice way to avoid relegation by sending off SJ and welcoming in debutant Casey McLean, who cashed in big time with 4 tries. I thought the 2 late tries in the first half kind of masked how much of a grind the first half was. We got off to a good start with scoring in the 4th and 11th minute, and then sort of for most of the first half after that, the Kumals had a patch there where they were very threatening and scored one themselves. Probably should have scored 2, 3, or 4. Had a couple disallowed there. But yeah, we did. We scored. Leo Thompson scored in the 37th minute, and then Chance scored a beautiful one right on halftime, set up by Casey McLean with a nice in and away. And I feel like those 2 tries really broke the spirit of the Kumals almost, and they just ran out of steam and almost hanging on for the rest of the match. But yeah, SJ was at the forefront. Some top-notch ball playing in his last ever game, and Kinney stood out yet again. So some good foundations to build off for next year.
Yeah, and Christopher made a good point. I got the date wrong. 2026 is the World Cup. Sorry, I thought it was 2027 in my head for some reason. But yeah, so 2027 you would expect Kiwis to go to England. And Jacko said, great memory of SJ playing well and smiling all game. And then Robbie also said, would love to see Pacific All-Stars team like the British Lions tour, New Zealand and Australia. Be huge. No, the Australians would just pick the Australian team in that because they're arrogant. But yeah, who did you just talked about Australia, Kiwis, right? I'm getting distracted.
I've got to talk about Kumals now.
Talk about Papua New Guinea, mate.
The Kumals, I kind of touched on it before. They really came to play in that first half. Probably should have been leading, but they left a couple of tries out there. Yeah, I'm just going to repeat myself here. So conceding 2 late tries in the first half probably broke their spirit, and for the rest of the game, felt like they were just struggling to hold on. And yeah, they faced the barrage of Sean Johnson. Sean Johnson just was pulling out all the tricks we know he has, and he's shown over his career. Lovely kick to Casey McLean. Lovely ball to Casey McLean, where he kind of held it up and then went long. Then he went to the other side and set Isako up. So I've just taken my chance to talk about the Kiwis again rather than the Kumals, really. But yeah.
No bias at all, man. Yeah, Papua New Guinea played with heart and did a lot better than I expected. They were physical and looked primed for an upset, as you said, in that first half, but it was just too many errors and lacked a little bit of discipline. And, you know, that crazy kick that Lachlan Lamb did where it bounced back and they scored and they were offside. You know, it's one of those, I think even if they scored that, I think the Kiwis still would have run away with it towards the end. But it's just one of those what-if moments. Like if he was just half a meter back and was actually onside, what would have happened? But they are another team that I've been saying like a broken record for the last couple of weeks. They could be dangerous if they can keep this team together and stop losing players to Australia, and get more games. Should be back in this promotion relegation match next year. Who they play, I'm not going to put money on yet. And Jacko said, I guess Stacey can sleep better now. Yeah, I'm still not sold. It's one of those damned if you do, damned if you don't. If he lost and they got relegated, that's him done and dusted. They had to put a score like this on. There was no in between. Like if it was 2014, like we saw with Kangaroos Tonga, that's a fail as well. We'll see what happens next year when he hopefully has more of his roster to actually play. You know, a stronger team. Your player to stand out, mate. I picked your guy and then got rid of him because I knew you would.
Yeah, very sentimental pick. I went SJ last game.
He had a blinder, mate. 5 try assists.
He had a blinder, especially in that second half. He pulled out all the tricks, like I was saying. So beautiful to see him go out that way and smiling, like Jacko was saying, smiling all game. He looked like he really enjoyed his last moments out there. So farewell, legend. But yeah, I went with SJ for his last
until
game.
He's announced to play for the Warriors in 2025, mate. You know. No, yeah, he was fantastic. As I said, I had him penciled in, and then I went, no, I know Richie's going to pick him, so I went with Casey McLean.
Yeah,
as
also,
I said,
fantastic.
Yeah, 4 tries on debut. As I said, when we talked about the team list when they announced the squad, he was one of 2 players that I said I don't even know who this kid is. I know he's with the Panthers, right?
Yes.
Yeah. He's with the Panthers. I think he played 4 or 5 games or something this year. Maybe
7,
more.
I think. 7.
There you go. It was more, but I wouldn't know him if I hit him with my car. Just for a little fling back to Ezra, but he was fantastic. He was everywhere he needed to be. Turned everything into a winner. I know there was a great picture from Sean Johnson on social media after the game of him and Casey, and he said that Casey is closer to age to his daughter than him himself. But yeah, fantastic from him, and it's made a lot more people look at him. Hopefully, we get to see him in the NRL a bit more, and he's definitely probably going to keep a Kiwi spot for as long as he wants it. Amantis said Madge just trying back as Kiwis coach. No Origin ties and can get more Kiwis to play for New Zealand through Brisbane. I don't even think Brisbane would let him have another job. Brisbane Broncos coach is the only priority he's probably going to be allowed. He's probably not even going to be allowed to spend time with family. His sole reason of life will be making Brisbane good again. And Amantis also said McLean is a star in the making. Yeah, a huge lot of upside. Seems like he's got a good head on his shoulders as well. I was just really impressed.
He's in a great system too.
Yeah, if you wanna develop your game as an NRL star, being in Penrith is a hell of a way to do it. So we'll move on to questions. We've answered so many of them, but Nicholas, I hope Nicholas is still here. But his one was, speaking of which, are there any players of the past who played for another club than they were primarily known for playing with that you still can't accept? Petrol 7 cents a litre as Penrith player for mine. Yeah, a player that just didn't look right in another jersey. I've got one right off the top of my head. I've got SJ in the Sharks jersey.
Yep, that's what I was going to say too.
That never sat right with me. Jacko said McLean has a bro just as good, apparently. Yeah, his brother is also with Penrith and was the one. It's kind of like the Bromwich brothers, where the Storm were like, Kenneth Bromwich, this kid's going to be a star. And then, we'll sign his brother Jesse for shits and giggles. And then Jesse became, the main dog. It was this way. Casey was like the younger brother that maybe might do okay. But his brother, I think it's Jordan McLean. He was apparently the big name, but Casey's played more NRL games than his brother. But they'll both probably be in there. It's Jesse. I knew it was a J.
Yeah.
But yeah, SJ for me for that question, Nicholas. I'm trying to think of anyone else off the top of my head.
There'll be tons.
Jared Hayne is a Titan.
Yeah, that one was a bit weird.
He was an eel. That's all I can think of it off the top of my head at the moment.
That's the best example. Sean in a Sharks jersey.
Yeah, it just never felt right.
Yeah.
I'll go to my question for you first because your one's a bit longer, mate. Jacko's got a good one. Foreign. For which one though? Foreign when he was in the Warriors jersey, when he was in the Eels jersey, when he was in the Bulldogs jersey, or in the Titans jersey?
Yeah, he's a club whore.
He suits a Manly jersey. So yeah, that's a good pick too. My question to you, mate. Tonga impressed me this international series. What do you think they need to do to go up another level next year?
Really, just I hope that they have continuity with their selections and the majority of the same group stay together. Ideally, the coach as well, like we were talking about earlier. And if they can bring through like some extra players in the spine. Tui Lolohea is great. He's been a great servant for Tonga. He's done some nice things in the weekend. He set up a nice try off for grubber, Fa'alokuatu. But if they had a top class NRL number 6 to go with Isaiah Katoa, would really help. There's just who do you go with? There's only really young people coming through. I think Fainu from the Tigers, but he doesn't even really get game. He's not going to even be getting game time at the Tigers.
No.
So, yeah, I think they're in a good spot as they are, as long as they retain the majority of their squad and hopefully Christian Wolf, and then they can just keep building, keep working on, what they do off the back of their platform they lay, because their forwards are already an elite level. They can get the better of the Kiwis. They can get the better of the Kangaroos. It's just what they do off the back of it is what doesn't have. That's what stopped them winning the Pacific Cup this year.
Yeah, you went the long way around to my answer too, which is they just need a 6.
Yeah, and possibly a 9, but Sonny Luke looked dangerous off the bench, but Harville's kind of like a stopgap hooker for me.
Yeah, and Simon said it would make more sense for an NRL team in Tonga instead of Papua New Guinea. It has no money value for the NRL, so they wouldn't do that. And most of the Tongan talent is born and bred in New Zealand. It's more union heavy in the islands of Tonga.
Speaking of Harville at hooker, you see AFB giving him a spray towards the end of that game?
Yeah.
He went off. He went off on him.
He was very passionate. Yeah, and Simon said, I meant there and have a team at Mount Smart. No, stop giving other teams permission to use my stadium, Simon. Stop it. Can't have everyone, even the All Blacks bloody go there now.
Maybe they could use North Harbour Stadium like the Super Rugby team won at Pacifica. They've moved to North Harbour Stadium for next year.
They're finally getting my letters to stay out of my stadium.
Yeah, that's right.
Your question for me, mate. This is the long one. That's why I waited.
Yeah, we got to... Okay. Last show of the year, Brad. I just want you to go out on a limb and give me your Warriors 1-17 to start 2025. I've got mine ready.
Yeah, you really showed your eagerness by saying it should be easy. I've already got mine, and I was like, mate, I don't even know. I don't know where to start. So I have put together a team. I'm not going to say this is the team I'm going to pick when I do my season preview next year. This is a team without looking at any preseason games and stuff yet. But I've got at fullback, I've got Tane Tuapiki. My wingers, I've got Dallin and Roger Tuivasa-Sheck. My centres, I've got Chance and Ali Leatawa. Halves, I've got Luke Metcalf and Tanner Boyd. Front row, I've got James Fisher-Harris, Wade Egan and Mitchell Barnett. Second row, I've got Murata Nakora and Kurt Capewell. And then lock, I've got Tohu. And then my bench, I've got Dylan Walker, Aaron Clark, Tom Ali, and Dimitri Sifakula.
All right.
That's probably going to change a lot. But
yeah, mine too. Mine will too. So this is my one. And there's a couple of unlucky people that will miss out for me. So fullback, I'm going to stick with Chance. Wingers, Roger Tuivasa-Sheck, Dallin, Waitenis Lesniak. Centres, Rocco Berry, Ali Leatawa. Halves, Tanner Boyd, halfback, Metcalf 6.
Yeah, that's the way I had it too. Sorry, I didn't say which one was 7 and 6.
Front row, Fisher-Harris, Egan, Barnett. Second row, Capewell, Niokore. Lock, Tohu. Interchange, Dylan Walker, Aaron Clark, Jackson Ford, Sifakula.
Yeah, I was stuck with Ford and Tom as well. But
so
soft spot for Tom.
Tane Tuapiki, Chanel Harris, Tavita, very unlucky. I think any injuries that require a backline reshuffle, I want Tane Tuapiki in there straight away.
Yeah. I'm risking it. I know Dylan's not really a hooker. If Wade Egan gets injured, I'm just hoping we just make shift Aaron Clark.
Aaron Clark can do it.
He can do it if we had him, had to. But yeah, I'd probably change it around a bit. But it's hard. It's hard without seeing them in the preseason games. I usually watch the 2 preseason first before I try to piece the team together. And it depends how some of them start. But
yeah,
I'm happy with it. There's enough talent to at least be able to argue with people about who should be in there, as opposed to years past where there was like 13 players that were good enough, and then you just kind of grab random people to end it.
I'm most torn with that fullback spot because I really want Tane to be like our Keanu Kini.
I'm still worried a bit like I am for Kinney when he's with the Kiwis. I'm about worried about his size, but he's a tough little bugger. And I feel like mine's more on speculation. He re-signed with the club, and I feel like there must have been a conversation if they weren't thinking of using him in first grade more, they probably would have done the Warriors thing where they let him go, mate, you can get a better opportunity elsewhere, you should take it, because there were teams that were interested. So that's part of my thing there, but we'll see. And we've got to see if Webby wants to continue with the RTS at centre experiment, which I hope not. I think we've got enough centre stocks where we don't need him to fill up a spot and
if he's not taking a spot on the wing, then who is?
Yeah, I feel like that was a big indicator when they let Marcelo go.
Yeah.
Because I don't see them moving a Rocco or a Ali to the wing.
No, it'll be Ed Gossie's the next one.
Or Ed Gossie, yeah. So, and I don't see Ed Gossie. I love him, but I don't see him being a week in, week out winger. But we'll see. So that was it, mate. So we usually preview a game, but I thought, like we did last year, we'd discuss our season 5 highlights. I included the league season as well because I was trying to think of highlights of sitting here talking to you every week, and I couldn't find many. I see you didn't write your notes on the notes you sent me back, so I have no idea what you're going to say.
Surprise me.
So do you want to go one for one or just rattle all mine and then rattle all yours? Your choice, mate.
Go rattle off yours and then I'll do mine.
All right. First one is that we're still here talking footy. It's 5 seasons, which I never thought when Paul slid into my DMs all those years ago and asking if I wanted to come on and do a little show for him, that we'd still be doing it. I'm not good with numbers and keeping track of how many episodes and shit we've done. But I did a quick tally up on it, and I think it's like episode 24 next year will be our 200th.
Nice.
So I'll keep track of it because I think this is 176. We started last year on 100, and it's been like, I think this is 38. I think we did 39 last year. And Simon said it's been an enjoyable 5 years, you guys. Thanks. It's a hell of a lot easier when Richie joined up and I wasn't just sitting here talking to myself. Doing like 30-minute shows, mate. It was a bit easier back then because there was no one to tell me I was wrong. But yeah, despite how talking about footy, despite how bad our predictions have been the past 2 years, hopefully we'll be better when we come back in our prediction show next year. Second one was getting to meet Rue and Hammer in person. I don't even think they're watching, so I can't really suck up to them right now. But riding their coattails when they came over to get in the Warriors sheds. And Simon said, why can't you remember what is Sanjay, your original? Yeah, Sanjay was here at the start, and then there was a period where when he left, I was doing it on my own. So it was like half a season, I think, before I think I got you in on season 2, didn't I?
Yeah.
Including the only time I actually had a guest, mate. I had Cameron George on, I think the final show for the year, all by myself, never interviewing a person before. It's a bit stressful. But yeah, Rue and Hammer getting us into the sheds. I got to take my partner into the sheds and get her pictures with players, which was an experience I could probably never get her myself. So it actually, I finally did something nice for her for once in my life. Speaking of her, I managed to keep her around despite finding a way to talk about Millie Elliott in every episode. Get ready for next year's episode when the Warriors NRLW team play the Roosters. That's all I can say. I'm really hoping that's a Mount Smart game. And last one, even though I lost it for the first time ever, it was great to have more people involved in our tipping comp. Definitely going to have it open for everyone again next season, so keep an eye out on the links when I send them before the season kicks off. But it'd be great to have everyone back in there, and hopefully I'll do better. But yeah, that's it. I'm sure there's heaps I'm probably forgetting. Everyone that has been sticking with us, and Paul obviously with all the work he does in the background that sometimes doesn't get seen, and having to jump in and help me when you decide to skive off because you have work and things.
all those important things.
Yeah. It's the only thing that is guaranteed is that I'm always going to be here because this comes first in my little life. But yeah, what about yours, mate?
Well, in terms of the show, it's just been really great having a whole nother season under our belts. Like you said, our predictions were pretty piss poor, but it's always a bit of fun anyway. But it's just been great having a lot of the same faces show up for a chat each week, and you guys make it what it is, and love getting all you guys' opinions and being able to bounce off those. Again, our award show and revisiting our predictions is always fun. Fun to revisit how wrong we can be, and hindsight is a great thing. I'm going to really put in some work this coming season, try and make them not so embarrassing though. And like you said, Brad, the tipping comp. I thought the tipping comp was really cool this year, having a whole bunch of more people do it, and hopefully that we can get that same thing rolling again next year. It's nice to finish in front of you for once. Yeah, maybe we can do something else next year. Maybe I actually do fantasy for once, and we can put our scores up.
Yeah. And Jacko said thought on next year close down the retirement league section. That could be something I consider because if we can't watch it, there's no point really rattling off the scores. It's something I'll look into.
We can replace it with fantasy. There you go.
Yeah, we can think of something. Because I feel like it's only me and Simon that talk about the Super League anyway. But it's all stuff to think about. Now's the time of year where I actually have to acknowledge that I have a partner and spend time with her. Now that league's over, she's getting more and more upset, mate. That league's getting longer and longer. It used to be 6 months of treating her like rubbish and having the Warriors as the love of my life. So now she's like, it's like January to November now, mate, basically. Because I'm already starting the writing articles again in January and stuff, but we'll see. That's it. We've got really. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in tonight on the season finale of season 5 of the Standoff with Brad and Richie. That is us for 2024. We haven't discussed when we're going to start season 6 in 2025. But keep an eye out on social media when we announce the return date. We generally do it like 2 weeks before the season starts. If we did it like how we did it this year, we did like a prediction show.
Yep.
And then we did a preview, or was it a week before where we did predictions and previews the first week, then the review of the Vegas games the second week, I think. Shit, we'll figure it out. It's ages away. But yeah, keep an eye out on social media when we announce the return date. I put it out on my Facebook, I put it on Twitter and all that. So if you're not already, you can just like my Anchors League wrap-up page on Facebook. That keeps all the standoff stuff on there, as well as everything else I do. But as always, if something big happens in between seasons, we'll make a special episode to cover it. We've done that. Haven't had to do it too much. We did it with RTS leaving, Sean Johnson coming back, a few other things I think there were where I think even ones you couldn't make it on where it was just me and Paul.
Yeah.
We'll make a special episode if we have to. But yeah, that's it. Thank you all so much for putting up with us for what feels like the last 6-7 months, I think.
Whole year.
Whole year almost.
Yeah.
And yeah, hopefully have you all back next year. And cheers again for joining me as always, Richie. And good night, everyone.